You think your neighbor is annoying, but what if they sent a whole team to break into your property without realizing the sheriff was already inside? That's exactly what happened when HOA Karen decided to take things too far. It was a quiet Sunday morning, the kind that makes you forget the chaos of the week. The sun was just climbing over the horizon, casting golden light across my farm. The air smelled of fresh soil and growing crops. I was walking along the rows of vegetables, feeling the warmth on my skin when I heard it, a loud snap, metallic and sharp, echoing across the yard. I froze. Something was off. Then I heard the shouting. Move. Out of the way. That voice, it could only belong to one person. Karen Whitmore, the notorious HOA president. And she wasn't alone. 3 large trucks had rolled onto my property, their doors painted with HOA Patrol. Men and women in neon vests jumped out, clipboard in hand, sunglasses reflecting the sun, their faces set in expressions of authority and arrogance. They didn't know me. They didn't care. They thought they owned the place. I took a step back, heart pounding. My mind raced. What were they thinking? Why would they come here? And then I remembered. The sheriff had stopped by earlier that morning to check on a complaint about possible trespassing. He was inside the farmhouse, just minutes away from where the chaos was about to unfold. Karen strutted across the yard like she owned it, clipboard swinging, measuring tape in hand. She scanned the property with a mix of disdain and confidence. Check the barn. Look under the porch. Don't leave anything unchecked, she shouted at her team. Her orders were sharp, precise, like a drill sergeant commanding troops. Her patrol fanned out, moving through the yard, opening gates, peering into sheds, stepping on garden beds without a second thought. Every step they took was a violation of everything I considered my sanctuary. I stayed calm. I didn't want to provoke them. I didn't need to. The sheriff was inside, and he would handle this. But even so, I couldn't help feeling a mix of fear and disbelief. How could someone be this brazen? Karen made her way to the barn, where I stored some of my equipment and tools. She tried to twist the padlock off the door with her bare hands, muttering under her breath about HOA rules and property lines. The sound of the lock straining against the metal rang loud and clear. And then it happened. A voice, deep and commanding, echoed from the farmhouse. Stopped right there. The patrol froze. Karen spun around, sunglasses sliding down her nose, jaw slack. Out on the porch, the sheriff stepped forward, badge glinting in the sunlight, eyes sharp and unwavering. This is private property, he said. You have no authority here. Step back now. Karen sputtered, trying to argue, waving her clipboard as if it were a weapon. I'm enforcing HOA rules. You can't. The sheriff didn't flinch. His presence alone was enough to shift the balance. Karen's patrol looked around, confused, unsure of what to do. Their confidence, once so loud and threatening, had vanished. I stepped closer, feeling a mix of relief and disbelief. All this planning, all this intrusion, and they hadn't even considered the law might already be on my side. The patrol leader finally lowered his hands, muttering, We'll come back with proper notice, but it was too late. The sheriff's gaze made it clear they weren't going to step foot on my property again without facing serious consequences. Karen turned on her heel, her face a mix of fury and humiliation. She barked orders at her team, but they didn't move. Their rebellion had crumbled in seconds, replaced by hesitation and doubt. The trucks backed up, leaving the driveway empty, but for the dust they kicked up. Karen's heels clicked across the gravel as she stormed toward her vehicle, muttering about rights and rules. But everyone could see it. Her power, her control, had evaporated. The sheriff turned to me, shaking his head with a slight, knowing smile. Some people think rules are meant to scare others. They don't understand respect or boundaries. I nodded, still catching my breath. That day, I realized something important. Entitlement has limits. And no clipboard, no patrol, no set of neon vests can replace the authority of the law or protection it provides when things get out of hand. As I walked through my fields later that afternoon, I could still feel the tension lingering in the air. The soil under my boots seemed to hold a memory of the confrontation. It was a reminder that property isn't just land or crops. It's your life, your peace, your sanctuary. And some people, blinded by control and arrogance, will never understand that. Karen might have thought she could intimidate me, but she underestimated more than just me. She underestimated reality, the law, and the fact that true authority doesn't come from rules on paper. It comes from presence, integrity, and courage. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, the farm returned to its quiet state. The birds chirped, the wind rustled through the leaves, and the golden glow faded into twilight. Everything was calm again, but I knew one thing for certain. This was a story I would never forget. Some confrontations aren't just about property. They're about respect, about knowing where the line is drawn. And sometimes it takes someone like Karen to show you exactly how far people will go when entitlement blinds them, and how satisfying it is when justice, patience, and calm finally prevail. That Sunday, my farm wasn't just a piece of land. It was a battlefield of arrogance versus authority, chaos versus calm. And in the end, calm always wins. The moment those trucks rolled onto my property, a knot of dread formed in my stomach. My farm, usually my sanctuary, suddenly felt like a trap. The hum of the engines was deafening in the quiet morning, drowning out the chirping birds and the soft rustle of leaves. Karen Whitmore stepped out first, sunglasses reflecting the sunlight like armor. Every movement she made screamed confidence, entitlement, and something darker, an unshakable belief that she had the right to invade my life. She waved her clipboard like a weapon, barking orders at her team. Divide and search. Check every shed. Don't leave a corner untouched. Her patrol fanned out, moving like predators across my land. They trampled over soil I had spent weeks tending, shoved open doors without hesitation, and poked around my personal spaces like intruders in someone else's life. Each footstep against the wooden boards of the barn and garden beds sounded like a challenge, a provocation. I stayed in the shadows, barely breathing, my heart hammering against my ribs. Every instinct screamed to confront them, but I held back, knowing the sheriff was inside. Still, fear clutched me. These people weren't just disrespectful. They were dangerous in their arrogance. Karen moved closer to the barn, her hand twisting the lock as though sheer willpower could force it open. I could hear the metal strain, sharp and threatening. My palms went clammy. This wasn't just about property anymore. This was about violation, about someone trying to strip away the safety of my home. Then, suddenly, a voice cut through the chaos, a voice so commanding it made everyone freeze. Stop. Right there. Time seemed to slow. The patrol froze mid-step. Karen's head snapped toward the farmhouse, her mouth opening in surprise. There, standing on the porch, the sheriff's badge gleamed in the sun. His eyes locked onto her, like a predator sizing up an intruder. The air thickened with tension. Karen's confidence wavered, a flicker of panic crossing her face as she realized, too late, that the rules she clung to meant nothing here. She stammered, trying to find her authority, but the words died in her throat. The patrol shifted uncomfortably, their bravado gone. The metallic scent of fear mingled with the morning air. Every inch of my property suddenly felt charged, alive with anticipation. My heart pounded as I watched Karen's empire control crumble in real time. The sheriff stepped forward, voice low but sharp. This is private property. You have no authority here. Step back now. The simplicity of the statement was terrifying in its power. Karen's orders were meaningless. Her team looked to her for guidance and found nothing but hesitation. Their aggression evaporated like mist in the morning sun. Karen's face flushed with fury and humiliation, her usual calm replaced by desperate sputtering. I'm enforcing rules. HOA rules, she tried to say, but her words sounded hollow, almost absurd. The sheriff didn't flinch. The tension between them was palpable, crackling like electricity. My own chest heaved. I felt a surge of vindication, but also adrenaline, fear, and disbelief all at once. Every step Karen had taken, every rule she thought she could bend, was being undone in an instant. The patrol leader finally muttered, We'll come back with proper notice." As the truck slowly backed down the driveway, Karen stormed toward her vehicle, muttering furiously, but the spark of authority that had guided her all these years was gone. I stepped out of the shadows then, feeling the weight of every moment. Relief washed over me, but so did the lingering shock of what had just unfolded. My farm was still mine, but the memory of the intrusion would linger forever. The adrenaline wouldn't fade immediately. That morning, the farm had become more than soil and crops. It had become a battlefield of entitlement versus law, arrogance versus respect. And in that tension, I learned just how thin the line is between feeling safe and realizing that safety can almost be stolen in a single brazen moment.